safe. Soon as we step out the cage, we raising all of the stakes. Make no mistake, either you stay in your place or
no, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I watched Clone Wars, but I mean, I fell asleep a couple times at night on an episode here or there. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so that's why you call him Huang instead of Huang, like everyone else.
Hey, listen, I've caught up hella on Star Wars. Like, compared to where my knowledge is at, like 6 months ago, compared to where I'm at now, I'm way beyond anywhere I was ever at. So, like, I'm quite proud of my Star Wars. Like, I'm selling people on Star Wars now. On my own with my Huang shit.
Huang.
I'm probably gonna get like a strike from YouTube for like a racial slur now or some shit like that.
Check.
Yeah.
Huang.
All right. So how do I pronounce it again, Jasmine? Is it? Am I sounding it? Is it Juan?
Does the Android have a nickname? Like, it can be easy for us to say it.
Wang.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. Oh, my bad, folks. Oh my god! Even I fell the fuck out there for a minute. Oh yes, it's possible.
Baby leg, hang out that shit like. I'm recording her. Hey yo, how long? My child. This is not my child. No, it's not.
Are you gonna help me?
Yeah, you gotta give me change.
I don't have change.
What happened to you?
Are you gonna help me?
What happened to you?
I don't know what happened to me. They said I got raped.
What?
Can you help me, please? They said I got raped. They said I got raped. Can you help me, please?
Oh my god. This is so what? This is good footage right here. Hey, yo, come on. I'm gonna help you right now. Come on.
Where are you gonna help me?
I'm gonna go get change for you.
Okay,
Hey, miss, you got change for a 20? You got change for a 20?
They said I got raped. I don't know what's going on.
I'm about to help you right now.
Oh man, folks, sorry about that. I was just dropping some filler shit in there real quick and whatnot and everything before I started the show, since I was waiting patiently for Mr. Being Late Andrew. First time he's been on the Leading Edge panel in like 17 and a half years.
Okay,
and
hasn't been that long.
And he's late for the show, even though it's a special show that was put together specifically for like him as like a birthday present kind of deal. So whenever his birthday comes around, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the present. Is that a good present?
Yeah, it's a good one, Jeff. Thank you.
That's a good friend that watches out for your birthday and shit like that and whatnot. Thinks about it, you know, even when he doesn't know it.
I appreciate that. It's
Yeah,
nice
brother.
to see you again, Jeff.
Well, it's good to see you, man. It's been so long since you've been on the show that like we've both aged, so we look different. You know, we're like older now, right? More
Yeah,
mature.
I've been really busy, so it's good to see
Well,
you.
yeah. Some of us, I mean, you know, even Jasmine has gotten older, right? Like,
Wait, what are you talking about?
Jasmine, you have that eternal youth going on, bro. You like seriously, like I do. Like when I was in Jamaica, these one time I was sitting there at like one of the smoking areas or whatever, and there was a couple of Brit dudes, and they were like probably in their, I think they were in their late 40s, early 50s. And they could not believe that I was 41. They were just like astonished. They're like, "Dude, what did you fucking find the fountain of youth or some shit, whatever, whatnot, and everything?" I don't really see it. I know I do look young, like because I do have women occasionally and whatnot that will turn me down, right? Because they don't believe my age, like on dating sites and whatnot and all that. They don't believe that I'm 40. When I'm 41, they think I'm lying just to try to like bang them or whatever because they're old or whatever, some shit. It happens to me like regularly. I'm serious. But so I know, like, I do have some youthful shit going on, but you're gonna be like, when you're like 41, you're like fucking 19.
Yeah, I mean, Florida is like the fountain of youth.
You'll be getting carded by condoms and shit, right, Andrew?
I'm sorry, what was that? Something about Florida condoms?
He'll be getting carded just by condoms.
Probably.
Jeff,
you're like your mic's like cracking.
Oh, you know what it is?
What is it?
I'm probably using the MacBook Pro microphone and not my microphone.
Mm.
Or no, I'm using my microphone. Do I sound low? How's this? Any better? Check. 1, 2, 3.
It's like really staticky because I know you sound
Really?
better. You usually sound better.
Let me know if it clears up. Hold on, okay? Anyways, folks, business at hand here. MCU'S Media YouTube channel podcast. Here to talk about some serious shit. There may be some laughs here and there, but mostly some serious talk here. Don't know how informative it'll be, but like should be good discussion. Busted off a mid-season recap for Shogun. I guess you could. It's either a limited series or it's a what's it called? I forgot the other word for it. I believe it's a limited series because it is only the 1 year.
Says, I looked online. It says mini series.
Is it a mini series? That's what the other one I was going to say. Mini series, right?
Because it's only like 10 or.
That's it. Yep, 10 episodes, and that's the end of the deal. So it's just like the original. So we're an episode behind, which I think is cool because we have this really cool show tonight playing out where because we only reviewed the first episode when they dropped the first 2. We're a week behind real time, so we're at the mid-season mark right now at the Bleeding Edge with our reviews. Now, Andrew and Rathakan / Jassim had not gotten into Shogun when we first started doing the recaps, and weren't able to participate. We're busy and whatnot, everything with work and life and all that. And so it just so happens that when I put the show together to get together with Andrew and record and do the recaps, he got caught up all of a sudden, right? And ran right through the series real quick and shit and whatnot in a couple days. All of a sudden, Jassim got freed up and he watched the shit out of it. He got caught up.
I just finished episode 6.
I was like, this is fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hooked on all this shit. So there you go. So, see, now you're already an episode ahead of me. I haven't even gone that far yet. I'm waiting until I actually review it. Basically, so at that point, they're coming on, having not had a chance to discuss this at all with anybody yet. Right, which I think is going to be really cool. They're probably both like foaming at the mouth, I bet, to like chop it at the bit to get after it and get some questions and shit and whatnot, and have me shut up so we can actually get into deep dive into Shogun. But shout out to everybody out there that catches us, live here on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, on Twitch, right, Facebook Live or Facebook page. Of course, on YouTube, we really appreciate all of you. Everybody that catches this, most of you in video form, we appreciate all of you. Please consider liking, following, subscribing, and most importantly, always turning on the notifications on our YouTube channel so that you're aware when we're live 3 nights a week on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You might see some good shit. Maybe not, but you never know. So bottom line, I'm going to start the show off with a very simple question. Since I haven't discussed this with either one of you before, and I'll go with you, Andrew, since you've got seniority on the panel over Wrath of Khan. You've done more shows on the panel than he has. At that point, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts when you watched the first episode of Shogun? Like, if you could go back to like your mindset, kind of like right at the end of that first episode, where your thoughts were off that.
Okay, so having watched the whole like 6 episodes back to me. Okay, let me think about the first episode.
I know it's tough. Just try. If you could be like, close to, what I mean? Like, what do you think? Where were you at off that first one?
So I think by the end of the first episode, he still hadn't met Toranaga yet by the end of the first episode because they were on their way to Edo, to past Tokyo, I guess. And to Osaka Castle, right? They're heading to Osaka.
Yeah, it's chapter 2 where he meets Toranaga.
Yeah. So I first of all, I just remember being just kind of flabbergasted with the brutality of like that one guy who gets boiled alive. Yeah. That was really gruesome and just really like sent shivers down my spine. I thought that was like such a overreaction to like these people are just arriving and you're just instantly just killing them because you don't understand what they're saying. Like that seemed like really brutal, but I do remember also learning from
that historic time period and everything below that is all pretty barbaric.
Yeah. Because Japan is pretty much like just shut down. Like no one really leaves or really comes or whatever. So like they're very hostile to non-Asians because they do trade with the Portuguese and like Dutch and like the Chinese. But like, and if you don't fall into one of those categories, then you're just like an enemy automatically. So I thought that was pretty rough. I was really I really liked a lot of the. What was that?
Let me rephrase and pinpoint it a little bit more narrow for you. Coming off episode 1, what did it springboard you and like launch you right into what the steamroll right into the next couple chapters? Right, were you right there, like hooked from jump?
I think I was hooked after the second episode.
Okay.
Once he meets Toranaga and then what's her name, Mariko and like
Anna Sawai, Sawai or whatever.
And gets kind of introduced to the general cast and everybody kind of mingles and talks. Like that's when I was like, okay, I can now more interested. I think the first episode, I don't know if they did the first 2 episodes like back to back, like on the launch, like when they first premiered.
They dropped them both, yes.
Okay, that makes sense because a lot of shows do that when they know that the first episode probably won't be enough to get you. They did that with Andor. Andor had the first 3 episodes premiere because those first 2 episodes are pretty rough until you get to the third one with all the good action. And
I
stuff.
know we were way off real time when we recapped it and reviewed it because we did about 1 episode at a time, so we were way off the whole time.
Yeah, so that makes sense that they did 2 episodes because they probably figured that the first episode really wouldn't sell it to you until you get to like the second one. So.
Andor and Shogun and shit like that, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, it's just too much fucking material to try to cover like more than 1 episode in one show. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much.
Sure, yeah, but I'm saying like I think that's probably why they would have done 2 episodes because like that's good. Take that to get people really hooked on. So
The Last of Us did it too. Remember?
Yeah, it's true. Last of Us did that episode 1 and 2. Yeah, and then again because I think The Last of Us had a really strong first episode, but I think it's the second episode that really makes you care for the characters. So, or at least get introduced to what the plot of what it's going to be. Because the first episode of The Last of Us is just setting up like everything's going to happen with the time skip. And then once you get to the second episode of the time skip, that's when you learn like, okay, what are we doing here? What's going to be the?
You came out, didn't you you did an episode with us, didn't you? On Last of Us.
I know I did at least. Oh yeah, we did. It was you, Alexis, and someone else. We did the finale.
Really?
Yeah, I remember because we were talking about our favorite villains of the show.
I've been having a good time getting the podcast caught up to the YouTube channel. Has made me go back and rewatch and re-listen to a lot of the content and the shows and whatnot, and see the rosters and all that and whatnot. It's cool seeing who was on what. You know, you got your fingers on pretty much like a lot of the different TV series that we've reviewed here and there. You managed to sneak in at least for like 1 review, a lot of different series. But let me get you involved here, Rathacon. Same question to you. Were you with the same place as Andrew? Did it take episode 2 for you to really get sold and to where you got hooked in or whatever, whatnot? Why then?
Yes.
Why? Like what was it about episode 1 and 2 that really drew you in?
Okay, so episode 1 didn't really draw me in. Like I had to like push through it just to like go through the whole Shogun series to see why it was amazing. Episode 1 was confusing for a lot of reasons. One being like, why did they boil that guy alive? Like the guy had like
it's tough when you come into a TV series like you are, like with something that's being this critically acclaimed and everything, and everybody around you is telling you how great it is and whatnot, and then you've got to watch the first episode.
Yeah, it's like the guy had a translator. That's the part that confuses me. But I think the translator kind of like intentionally wanted him dead. It was weird.
He does, because they have different faiths. They're Christian. They're both Christian, right? But like, you help me out here, Andrew. Blackfoot. I call him Blackfoot sometimes because one of the guests called him Blackfoot, so I call him Blackfoot sometimes. Kim from Pop Culture Green Room called him Blackfoot, so I call him Blackfoot all the time. Andre calls him Blackbeard, but no, he's a Protestant, right?
Yeah, so Blackthorn, he's English, so he's automatically Protestant because England is a Protestant country at that point. And then pretty much Portugal, Spain, Italy, and I'm just one I'm blanking on are all
the Netherlands
are Catholics. They're Catholic nations, so they have supposedly they're supposed to follow the same God, but they have like different religions, different ways of doing things, and they're enemies. They have
real rigid differences.
This is early 1600s. So
we're
talking to the point of like war over it. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm familiar with it from
this
school.
Is still like a few years before like the golden age of piracy in the Caribbean. So like when all the big European powers are at war. So this is like a little bit before where it gets really, really bad. So they're still looking for they're trying to expand like their power, their control of other nations. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I love the example of when Blackthorn draws the map in the sand.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
Very
And he
powerful.
shows them
We'll
exactly.
get too far. Let's wait to talk about.
All right, all right,
give me.
all right.
Let's try to go chapter to chapter.
All right. That's right.
Right. So no,
Okay.
but so basically, Jassim, that first translator is like trying to fuck him. He tried to fuck Blackthorn, right?
Okay,
After that, all the other translators are straight with it, right? But that first one is totally trying to set him up to get killed because he's really afraid that like Blackthorn will reveal the truth, the fact that there's more to the world than like the Portuguese.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
They want
And
to
it's
they want to lock down that trading market, and plus
Yeah.
they also want to influence their politics and take over the country. With that's the thing about Catholicism at that point. That's their mandate. Like it's not only to like spread the faith and the gospel, it's to actually take over the entire machine or complex or whatnot, you know, and like make use through the church.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it. And they're already doing it. Like they're sowing the seeds. You've seen it.
Yeah. It was also interesting how it's like, I think after that, you had like, you know, the whole council, everyone's like suddenly against
the regents, yeah, the council.
What's his name? Tama Taruguta. What's his name?
I lost. You know what? When I play one of the trailers in a minute, I'm going to grab my sheet from out the garage that has all the characters on it because that's what I use.
Toranaga.
Okay.
Like at first, I thought Toranaga was the bad guy because everyone else was against him. They were afraid of his rise of power, and then next thing you know, you're at the the house. They want to take the baby, and the husband want to execute him. And I'm just like, why?
Because of seppuku.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
the baby. A baby. Come on.
You're talking about when his
you gotta erase your whole bloodline and shit and whatnot.
You're talking about when he like speaks out of turn, right? Like the guy
Yeah.
gets like heated and
So that's why they like try to take the baby.
Fuji's husband. Fuji's husband.
Yeah. And the baby.
That's why Fuji's all fucking tripping out. That like in those first episodes.
Like he steps out of line and tries to speak up for his lord, and then that just embarrasses his lord more than anything. And so he like apologizes profusely, and then he's like I'll kill myself here. And they kind of just like right now this isn't the time. Like we're gonna talk about that later. And then later on, that's when like it's like that's not enough. Like you're gonna kill the baby and you're gonna kill like yourself and stuff.
And you got to give that actress that plays Fuji a lot of credit because she did a really great job of conveying like real sorrow. Like as much as possible within the culture of this time period of Japan, right? Of having the death, the loss of her child and her husband and all that shit and whatnot, right? Like, so she's really fucked up. You can see it those first 2 episodes or whatever, but like it's within like control, with some control, you know?
Yeah.
Like you'd think that she'd be fucking. Most people would be like losing it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're kind of forced to keep it in control. Because otherwise, you know, they might be seen the same as the engine.
It's that whole deal is all part of them trying to display like this part of feudal Japan and whatnot, everything in their customs. You know, it's so important for the series to be able to like make that clear and sell that because that's when you then bring in Blackthorn, right? One of the biggest concepts of the story is him trying to like learn to like work within this different culture, this different system, instead of like, you know, customs and whatnot and everything, and watching him try to figure it out and navigate it. And then the people around him on the Japanese side trying to like, you know, having their eyes open about him, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
especially that ending, man.
So by the end of like Shogun episode 2, were you like, okay, I get it now why Jeff's like, this shit's fire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you see everybody on like, have you seen anybody on X or Twitter or whatever, or on social media ever bad about this show?
No,
Andrew?
No. I honestly haven't seen anybody really talking about the show in general. It's really just the people. It's really just the people in my own circle, like you, my cousin who first showed me the trailer when the show was announced. Wait till we watch the trailer in a minute. Those trailers are fucking great. But yeah, I haven't really seen it that much. I think someone in another Discord that I'm in, another Discord channel, was like, "Oh, has anybody heard of Shogun?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to watch that show." They're like, "Oh, it's actually kind of good." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Anybody who's watching it wants to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It's basically like that, right? But then again, I'm kind of biased because when I go on to like X or whatever, right? I'm usually always putting in things in the search thing like Shogun, chapter 5 recap to like find our live or something. You know what I mean? So at that point, I'm going to see people talking about the show. But here, let me go ahead and work off my actual outline here. So Shogun chapter 1, right? My key question points off this. The Shogun TV series based on James Clavell's 1975 novel. How do I sound, Andrew? Am I still a little bit shitty?
When you move away, it doesn't sound that great. Yeah.
Okay, hold on a minute. Begins with the arrival of the first Europeans to Japan around 1600. Disrupting the Portuguese Jesuits' trade monopoly. The story follows the journey of John Blackthorne, an English pilot on a Dutch ship, as it arrives in Japan with a drastically reduced crew, facing starvation and despair. Upon arrival, Blackthorne and the crew are taken prisoner by a young samurai, leading to a series of cultural clashes and a stark introduction to Japanese customs and political tensions. The political landscape in Japan is depicted as complex and volatile, with power struggles among warlords and the looming threat of civil war, while European traders and religious conflicts add external pressures. Through the experiences of Blackthorne and key Japanese characters, the series explores themes of honor, loyalty, and the cultural and political intricacies of feudal Japan, setting up a multifaceted narrative for the episodes to come. So what I want to derive from that, basically, and I'll go to you, Jasper, then you, Andrew, is just give me your skinny on chapter 1. Like, just give me like your Cliff Notes, real quick version of your thoughts on the chapter. Give me an MVP character out of it, right? And then give me like a Monica Rambeau Award winner, which is like a runner-up, or like a secondary character that breaks out in the episode that you like, or something like that. And we're gonna do that for each chapter.
Okay. So we'll start with the Cliff Notes. Basically, a bunch of Europeans are starving, and they just somehow land in Japan. I honestly don't know how. Sounded like they were following Magellan's path.
Yeah.
And then somehow it's like a bunch of Japanese just like saw a ship. Samurais come in. They arrest them. And then there's this one priest who happened to be there who, like, as we discussed, basically effed him over.
Did you what I mean is, like, when I say Cliff Notes, is what are your thoughts, like Cliff Notes thoughts on the episode, like summarize? What do you think of the episode? Like, what did you think of the Rodriguez character that Blackthorne befriends? Like the other like ship guy that he meets? The Spaniard?
The one who calls him Ingles?
Yes. The one that he told that he meet, like, kind of befriends.
I couldn't even tell if that guy's like his friend or enemy. I just couldn't tell.
I think we're not supposed to really. I don't think he's supposed to fit into a specific kind of classification, because like he does things they're like clearly against Blackthorne, but then he also like we at this point you and I both seen like there's parts where he does things to kind of like aid him also. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, besides the really cool ending with like the the rope off the cliff and all that shit and whatnot, and all that crazy shit, the shit that what's his name? God, I wish I had my sheet with me. Kashigi, when Yabushigi, when he fucking does his tough guy shit and whatnot, everything goes down there. Besides that, I know that you didn't dig chapter 1 that much. Was there anything in it that you did like? I'll put it that way.
That ending.
Yeah.
They're just literally just going by their lives as that guy's just like screaming in pain.
Oh shit! Wasn't chapter 1 the one where Yabushigi also like watches the escort or whatever like bang his like son?
Yeah.
Or his nephew or whatever in front of him?
Nephew, I think.
Yeah. That was dope, right?
That was like nothing to me. I'm like,
I don't know if that's dope is the right word.
Yabushigi
we're just gonna leave it alone.
I think Yabushigi is fucking cool, bro.
I don't know if he's cool. He's interesting. He's an interesting character. I don't know. I don't.
Maybe
really
he's not cool. He's kind of like a fucking like a piece of shit kind of. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot, like a traitor and shit, whatnot in a way. But I'm just saying, like, he's interesting, like you said.
Yeah, because he does like a lot of. He's a little weasel though. Like he plays up to Toranaga like the whole. Like,
He's a good secondary character, and he adds some humor to the show, and whatnot, and all that at times. But what did Jasmine? At least give me your MVP character from episode 1, from chapter 1, and your Monica Rambeau.
Who? Wait, what is this again?
Your MVP is your MVP character. So like the character you like the most in the first chapter.
It would have to be probably Maiko.
Okay.
I know, small, but she did a pretty good job with getting the baby for seppuku.
Oh, okay. And then what about the Monica Rambeau war? Were there any secondary characters you could think of from that chapter that like stood out to you?
Ooh, secondary characters that stood out. I mean, the guy who stood up for Toranaga.
Okay.
Does that count? I don't know how this works.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sort of. Andrew knows what the Monica Rambeau Award is. Andrew, can you describe it better? You don't know?
I don't know why you call it Monica Rambeau.
It's based off Monica Rambeau, Jasmine. It's based off the WandaVision Disney Plus series with Monica Rambeau, a character that stood out in the series and broke out, right, to the point where like they added her to Captain Marvel 2 and shit off of it and all that. You know, like her stock is really actually, even with the Marvels like taking, her stock is really high with Marvel Studios as a character and as an actress. Théo Paris, based off WandaVision, which is a lot. There's a lot of shit's come off of it.
So a standout character then.
Any standout secondary character, I hand them everyone out on every Disney Plus series of every kind. Like I always give out a Monica Rambeau Award. Whatever secondary character busts out and like either steals the show, outshines like the fucking like star characters, whatnot, everything, or just like overall makes it lays a like busts out in the show. So can you pick one for that chapter? Is it if you can, you can't. If you can't, it'll be like an option.
A standout character. I kind of want to say the guy who got boiled alive.
Okay, good one. All right, Andrew, give me your thoughts on chapter 1, if you could, as much as you could remember. Just summarize them, and then give me an MVP and give me a Monica Rambeau Award if you can.
That's tricky just because I watched all the episodes, like it kind of just blend into each other. So I'm trying to like differentiate like what was the first hour of the show like. And
if you don't have a lot of thoughts, don't worry about it, because we're just going to end up like talking about the whole thing in a blend anyway here after we get through these quick. So like that's the sooner we get there, we'll just have that open discussion.
I've
got questions based off the whole thing.
Right. I mean, I could have one for the overall show so far, but for the first episode, like I'm blanking here. Yeah, it's a little tough because
let's try chapter 2.
All right.
Let's try chapter 2. Since that was the one where you guys really seemed to like it, like the show caught for you, right? And maybe you're probably, I think I was probably a lot more familiar with the characters by chapter 2. By chapter 2 and 3, I was able to actually like pronounce and know like some of the names of the Japanese characters,
Yeah.
I struggled a little bit first.
After they get out of the pier, they escape the pier. I mean, that's when I'm able to tell who's who much clearer. Which name matches who? Yeah.
Let's go to chapter 2, okay? Now,
all right.
Now, chapter 2, and this is one thing I want to bring up to you guys. I don't know if you knew about this, but one thing I find really interesting about Shogun is that with Shogun, basically, they've had different directors and different writers on different chapters. So there's been no consistent writing team for the entire show, and there's not been one director that's directed all the chapters, right? So the first 2 chapters, we had Jonathan Van Tulliken that directed, with the writing team of Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks on the first chapter, and then also the second chapter. By chapter 3, Tomorrow is Tomorrow, they changed directors to Charlotte Brandstrom, and the writing to Shannon Goss. Chapter 4, The Eightfold Fence, they brought in Frederick E. Otoy to direct, with Nigel Williams and Emily Yoshida writing. They brought back E. Otoy for Chapter 5, Broken to the Fist, our end for the recap, with Matt Lambert doing the writing. And now when we go to Chapter 6, we'll have a new director and another new writer in Hiromi Kamada and Megan Hussan. So what do you guys think about that? Did you know that, Andrew, ahead of time?
That's not that rare though. A lot of TV
shows you're right. It's not.
Writers.
It's not.
Because I think of like a lot of the Star Wars shows, like you have Bryce Dallas Howard doing like 2 or 3 of the best episodes of Mandalorian, then you'll have like somebody else do the not so great episodes of the Mandalorian. So it's not that odd because usually writing is a collaborative process, so you'll have different writers. But one thing that stuck out to me on the second episode, you said not what's her name? You said Rachel Caddo, I think you said, right? Was that the she and the other writer you mentioned? I believe they are a husband and wife writing duo.
Okay. Rachel Caddo and Justin Marks.
There you go. Yes, he did he was one of the. I remember his name. He's one of the writers for Top Gun Maverick, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So, so that kind of that explains why maybe Chapter 2 finally stuck the chord with me, because like that's one where we were introduced. We have like the very tense. I love the very tense kind of where Martin. I think Martin's the translator that comes in, and he's literally translating everything that like
Father Alvaro.
Yeah, he's translating for Toranaga, and like I love that little 3-way conversation they have where he's like, okay, why does he hate you so much? Like I sense he has like hate towards you. He's like, oh, because our nations are are like warring nations. Okay, well, why are you guys warring nations? Like, oh, well, because he's this and I'm that. He's like, oh, but you follow the same God, right? Like that whole like breakdown that Toranaga does of trying to figure out what exactly is the underlying like issue between the translator himself and Blackthorn. I think that's the moment where I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm really into this now. Like it's a really interesting drama. It's not just like confusion, because the first episode is just pure confusion. Like Blackthorn down in the pit, screaming up at them, telling them like calling them stuff, and then they're up there telling them like come up, and like no one understands anybody, so it's just like a mess. And it just
just to give you a baseline for Chapter 2, it basically on the wiki it essentially just says that Rodriguez gives the confiscated like journals, right, from Blackthorn's ship, to the Jesuits and whatnot. That does happen in the episode of the chapter, which is somewhat important. During Blackthorn's interview, both Mariko and the Jesuit priest Martin Albedo translate, but they're interrupted by Ishidu. Toranaga feigns disinterest and has Blackthorn thrown into prison. Toranaga wants to use Blackthorn's presence to sow division between Ishidu and the Christian Daimyo. I like Ishidu, by the way. He's an interesting character. In prison, Blackthorn meets a Franciscan friar who explains the political situation and highlights that the Portuguese black ship has been taking vast profits from the silk trade back to Europe, using a secret military base in Macau, guarded by Catholic converted Ronin, which obviously plays into that scene that you talked about earlier, Andrew, that I'm going to ask you about at the end of the chapter. And then it just basically says that Kiyama and Ono will only vote on Toranaga's impeachment after Blackthorn's execution. Yabushigi convinces Ishidu that Blackthorn could be useful. When Blackthorn is taken to be executed, he is rescued by Yabushigi and his samurai. That was actually a pretty cool little scene. Who stage a bandit attack. In a second meeting with Mariko and a sole translator, that's when Blackthorn explains that Portugal and Spain have divided the world among themselves, with the goal of replacing all non-Catholic governments, and shares existence of the Macau base. Toranaga, Mariko, and others are shocked. That night, the assassin fails to kill Blackthorn. Now that I'm giving you that, with Toranaga secretly switching rooms with them, and kills the assassin with Blackthorn's aid. Just giving you that baseline now, Andrew. What are your thoughts on Chapter 2? And then, if you can pick an MVP character off it, try.
All right. I think you pretty much summarized all of Chapter 2. Like, I think all of those little plot lines are like what I enjoyed about the episode. The interception of him being escorted out of Osaka, and then the assassin. They talk about this assassin who belongs to like the specific order. She's been just lying in wait for years to be used. I'm like, that's so cool. That's so cool. But yeah, the whole explanation of how there's like this bigger overall conspiracy to replace non-Catholic leaders in different, like, you don't take over the country directly through like war. You do it like subtly, culturally, religiously, like implanting like these different ideas and stuff and trying to maneuver them. And like how there is there are these two of the region, I think 2 or 3, I think for sure 2, but possibly 3 of the regents are Christian or Catholic, or they're Christian, and they it benefits them because they get money, but also there's like that one who has like he's always behind that veil because he has I forget what disease he has. I don't know if it's like gangrene or he has like the plague or something, but like that's one of the that's what makes him align with the Christians, is that he's receiving help and stuff, like treatment from like the Christians, and then the other ones it's just for like money, for profit. So I find it interesting how they're being manipulated by the Catholics. And no, you said I don't hear you right now, Jeff, but yeah, I find that whole overall like world government conspiracy going on really interesting, and how Toranaga's like wait a minute, like we didn't know any of this, like is this what this guy's saying is true? And then I forget if it was him or Mariko, one of them says like they don't sense any like deception in what he's saying. And so like now Toranaga's like, I really like, okay, I need this guy clearly knows way more that's going on, and like clearly the information is much more valuable. So it seems like he wants to keep him alive again. And then there's that whole thing with the Yabushige and Ishido, where Yabushige knows that what was it, that it would be better to keep him alive, keep Blackthorn alive, because otherwise then the regents that are the Catholic ones, they're going to be the next big obstacle for Ishido after they deal with Toranaga. So he's kind of like concerned now that like maybe we need to play this off a little bit longer. And just it's really interesting, the little intrigue they have going on in that episode. But if I had to have an MVP, it'd probably be Mariko for her, the way she's like, clearly she's kind of caught in between both worlds, right? Like her loyalty as her role in this Japanese government, but also as a Catholic on the other side. Mm-hmm. And they even have that conversation, I think, I don't know if it's in this episode or another one, where Toranaga says like, what if those two different things come in conflict? Like, which one are you going to serve? Like, are you going to serve your God, or are you going to serve like...
This is the main chapter out of the 5 that we're talking about, where they actually get into that.
And so I like how she translates exactly as she's supposed to, but then she'll stop and she's like, no, this doesn't make sense. Like, she'll tell them, and then Toranaga looks like she's like, okay, like she's clearly having an issue because they're not telling me now. They're just having a conversation between them. So
there's no way for her to, I mean, without, she's not trying to be biased. There's no way for her to not, with Blackthorn to not play down some of the things he says and whatnot and all that, especially in the beginning. Yeah. Because she knows that like he's a fish out of sea. Like, you know what I'm saying? That he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
She kind of like softens everything. She kind of like censors, like she gets the idea across, but in a more polite way. And I like how she does that to the benefit of both, right? She says like, oh, like he'll say something like really offensive, and then she'll turn and she'll just take like the most important parts of what he said and just only that, get that across to not like, put him in more, more trouble or so. So I think she's overall, I think she in this episode, at least in episode 2, she's like the more standout character to me.
All right, Jasmine. What did you think of Mariko? That's actually, I'm glad you mentioned her like that, Andrew. I didn't think that she really popped out for me in the series until later on, but she is strong. What do you think, Jasmine? That's got to be, when you think about it, she has a tough job, that actress Anna Sui. That's a tough character to play.
It is, yeah. I do find it interesting that even though she like tries to make the Anjin look better in front of Toranaga, I remember in the episode, she actually said that she's actually suspicious of Anjin, but Toranaga is the one who's willing to trust him, which I found very interesting. I also found it interesting that, like, even though she spends a lot of time with him, it's like she still also had a husband. So it's like they never really in the episode dive into like how the husband feels about the whole thing, which I found interesting. As for my standout character, Maiko for episode 2. The secondary would be...
You mean Mariko?
Mariko, yeah.
Okay.
The secondary would have to be who's that guy that like saves Anjin from like the thieves?
That is Yabushige.
Yeah.
He's the one that is basically playing both sides, right? Like he's supposed to be with Toranaga, but like at the same time, he's also like kind of also working with Shidu, or right? Isn't he, Andrew?
Yeah, he's a guy who's looking for Toranaga's spy. Like he's like, yeah, I know he has a spy in my camp somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the one I was saying is I find to be like a really interesting character. So what did you think about? I mean, based off what I laid out for chapter 2, if you have any general thoughts on the chapter, go ahead and give them. If I know you already dropped your MVP. If you don't, we'll just move on to chapter 3.
What thoughts did I have? Oh yeah, I also found it interesting. I think it was episode 2 where like the guy, they call him Blackstone, right? The engine's known as Blackstone.
Blackthorn. I call him Blackfoot sometimes, but you can call him. He is Blackthorn.
Okay, I'll just say Blackthorn. I found it interesting that in the episode, those Jesuits also wanted to try to kill him, but it looked like Toranaga's the reason why Blackthorn is alive.
Okay. Is that what you got? Okay. I'm going to play one of those trailers now. Give me 1 second. I just want to finish my thing in the private chat. I want to shout out to everybody on YouTube right now that's catching us live. We got a nice audience going, which is nice to see since we don't usually live on Saturday nights. So I know you guys can't see that, but I can. But we're doing pretty well. So thank you, all of you. You're being pretty silent and pretty quiet, but you're there, which is cool. Obviously, you must be enjoying some aspect of this. Must be Andrew and Jasmine being back on the panel, ain't me. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys' thoughts and whatnot and everything. Thanks for coming on, by the way, Jasmine. I really appreciate it. It's good to have you guys back. It's been a while for you too. It's been a long time for Andrew. Andrew, how long has it been?
I don't know. I honestly don't remember the last time. The last time I told you it was when we did some show with that guy from Australia. I forget his name.
Yep, it was that was the Andor.
Was it Andor?
Yep. That was the one where you and me where we stayed together on Andor, and we went for like another hour or whatever, whatnot, live together. I had
you're right.
On that show.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know. I know because I just got done putting up all the Andor episodes of the podcast.
So when was that? Like, I don't know how many months ago.
That was over a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Feels good to have you on.
Thank you. It's been a while, yeah.
All right, let's play one of these dope-ass trailers and go grab my sheet.
Maybe fate brought you here for a reason. Maybe you'll live long enough to find out what it is. I will die in this wretched land.
My master asks what you seek here.
To vanquish our common enemies. Dear God, you don't know their games.
己の敵の正体が分かっておらぬのじゃ。
出陣やむなし。The ultimate rank a mortal can achieve. Shogun.
I love it when that voice comes in and says Shogun. at the end. Isn't that fucking dope?
Can you replicate it?
No, I cannot. That guy's like, I'm not that good. Like seriously.
You can say it.
No,
it's your live stream.
No, I'm not a voice guy. Cyber does a little bit of that, but I'm not. That's not my deal. But no, you guys, what do you think of the trailers, real quick? Either one of you, Jasmine, what do you think of the trailers, man? Have you really seen them before? You watched the show?
I actually did not see the trailer when I first got into Shogun. I just went straight to episode 1.
What do you think of the trailers? They're really good, aren't they?
It was really good.
Yeah.
I will say it's no surprise that most of the content is from episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good shots in there. I love the score in general on the show. In terms of talking about the whole scale of like the first 5 parts, the first 5 chapters, since we are doing, the Shogun mid-season recap here. The score's been great. Just to highlight really quick and whatnot, and I'll go to you, Jess, about this, and then to you, Andrew, before we get into chapter 3. The score, the overall production of the series. I don't know how much time you guys have spent. I know, Andrew, you probably must have done a little bit of the research. Have you done any, Jasmine, in terms of watching any videos or anything on YouTube about how they produced the series or, the costume design and all that and whatnot? Because they invested a lot of time and money into the show. Like, it's obvious they did. They started producing this in 2020. And, so, like, that's how it took them years to make this.
I actually don't dive in.
Yeah, well, no, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, have you noticed how dedicated the effort that they've made with all the costumes and whatnot, everything to try to really be historically accurate, from at least to look like, I mean, I know we're not experts, but it looks very historically accurate. Everything does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The set design is really good. It's very well done. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like I'm living in Japan, ancient Japan, when I watch it.
Yeah, no, from scene to scene, when they show you a lot of different landscapes, right? A lot of different shots to work with. You're in different cities from chapter to chapter. The writing is outstanding, right, Jasmine? It really is. I mean, honestly, good writing, good storytelling, right?
This is not inspired by Shakespeare, right?
No, this is based off the James Clavell novel.
I'm very impressed.
And it's based off a true story. There really was a dude that was like similar to Blackthorn.
Mm-hmm.
I saw his picture actually in preparation for the show. I saw his picture. Yeah. No. So, what do you think, Andrew? You have any thoughts on the overall the logistical stuff? We don't have any numbers on the budget yet, but I'll give you some of the names and some of the people that have been leading the team. I'm sure you probably already know that Hiroyuki Sanada, right, was an executive producer on the show, not just playing.
Yeah, it pops up in the opening, that really cool opening credits.
Oh God, I'm gonna ask you about that, guys. That's my next question is, what do you guys?
It'll say like starring Hiroki Sanada, and then like a couple more names, and then executive producer Hiroki Sanada. Like, oh, okay, so he did both. Like, yeah, so like you'll see his name pop up more than once in the opening intro. But no, yeah. I mean, the show looks amazing. I've been to the real Osaka Castle when I went to Japan a couple years ago, and I'm like, that looks pretty accurate to what it looks like from the outside. Of course, today, the whole town around the castle is not really there. It's just empty. It's a big park surrounding the castle, and then the modern buildings, because it's Japan, so it's like modern, buses and buildings surrounding the park. And in the middle of the park is that castle with the moat, like that moat around it, kind of thing. Like that's pretty accurate to what I've seen in person. So that's really cool. Like the castle and everything looks exactly as I remember it from when I went. But of course, it's it's 400 plus years ago, so it's more medieval hustle and bustle looking with the towns and the small houses and everything across around it and stuff. And so yeah, that looks really cool. I love the stuff we see later on with like I don't know if it's okay to talk about it, but like there's an earthquake later on.
Yeah, most definitely.
And the landslide and all that stuff.
Feel free to mention. I do want to talk about chapter 3 real quick. But feel free to talk outside of the scope of the chapters, and go wherever you want.
Yeah, the whole thing with like the landslide, the crazy cannon demonstration that you know what I'm talking about in terms of like special effects and all that stuff. Just wow, like really, like none of that looked like like fake at all, or if it kind of a little Quentin Tarantino-esque with the exaggeration, maybe of some of the blood and stuff, but like it looks phenomenal. So yeah, a lot of the outfits. I'm trying to remember in the 1600s what the firearms would have been like, because I don't think they had. They're using like the percussion, like the old school percussion cap pistols that like Blackthorn has, so that looks about right. I from the trailer, there's like some stuff I haven't seen yet, like when they're like running on the beach with the rifles. I have not seen that at all in terms of the episodes I've seen so far. So that's probably in the second half of the season.
Wait, you didn't notice the rifles in like episode? You know the one where they had the cannon demonstration? You didn't see that?
But were they on the beach running with rifles?
Oh no, not the beach. No.
Yeah, it's a different scene. No, I did see those. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I did see those, but when they're on there's a bunch of like armored troops like on the beach running with rifles. And I was like, I don't remember that from what I've seen so far. So that's like clearly later in the season, but a lot of the like the outfits, when they show up with they have like the crescent moon like helmets with the daimyo style like helmets, like those all look really awesome. When they show the armor in when Blackthorn, I think it's in the second episode, maybe the first. I think no, it's the second episode when he meets Toranaga for the first time. He walks past a room and you see like the armor of display of the previous Taiko, and I thought like, oh, that's really cool. Like just and like I love how he has a moment where he reaches for the door and punches through because it's all paper. So he accidentally punches through the wall when he's reaching to open the door, and like that's pretty accurate of what would have been back then. I mean, you don't really see that now in Japan. Like that's more like in Kyoto, which is a much more like spiritual part of modern Japan. But like the paper doors, the attention to like the gardener who like focuses on the sand, the little sand drawings and stuff and the rocks, like it's pretty cool. It's very artistic, and I you can tell it's clearly like a passion project.
So as far as chapter 3 goes, let me go ahead and do the whole wiki summary quickly again, like I did before, just to lay things out before I asked you guys a question. Chapter 3 was Tomorrow is Tomorrow. They did a good job of using the titling in the actual chapters, I thought, right? In terms of having some character usually say the title in some way. They haven't always done it, but they have here and there. I believe that Mariko is the one that actually says tomorrow is tomorrow. No, Blackthorn says tomorrow is tomorrow. I think he's the one that does it in this chapter. He says tomorrow is tomorrow, or maybe it was Toranaga.
It was Toranaga, I remember.
Yep. So Toranaga instructs Yamushiki to move Blackthorn and Toranaga's wife to Ejiro. Disregarding Jesuit's concerns, the Black Ship's Captain General Ferrier plans to rebuff Toranaga's ban on leaving. At Asaka's castle, Ashinu arrives to inspect Yamushiki's caravan. That was a really cool scene. Under the guise of paying respects, Blackthorn and Riko witness Toranaga secretly swapping places with his wife in her litter. Riko explains they will all be killed if this is discovered. Blackthorn creates a distraction so they can leave the castle, escorted by Ashinu's men. Kiyama's men launch a surprise attack on the caravan. Upon discovering Toranaga, Ashinu's men turn against them. The party escape aboard a galley with Riko's husband Tona Bantero staying behind to stall pursuit. With the harbor blocked by Kiyama's men and fishing boats, Toranaga boards the Black Ship, striking a deal with the Portuguese in exchange for passage on their ship. Ferreira requires Blackthorn to be left behind, but Blackthorn follows in the galley and rejoins once both ships have broken the blockade. At sea, Toranaga makes Blackthorn a Hatamato and asks him to teach Western tactics to a new regiment. In Osaka, Hiramatsu informs the regents that Toranaga has resigned. They no longer have quorum to vote on impeachment. So, Jaslyn, Chapter 3 is obviously the one that came after 2, which was the one that you said really hooked you in. So
No. Chapter 2 actually hooked me in.
Okay, so this is the one right after Chapter 2, right? So we're in Chapter 3. You should be able to remember a little bit of the stuff that happened in that chapter. There was
I do.
On. What were your thoughts on the chapter? Any highlights for you, whatever, whatnot? And then if you have an MVP character on that one, give it to me.
So I guess the whole like issue or debacle where you have, I think, Ishido's men just coming into Osaka, trying to like stop them from like leaving the city. That whole scene was like confusing because it's like, okay, they go in, they just want to make sure everyone's there. But like that's it. Like that's the part that like kind of confused me. But it was very interesting to see Blackthorn, I guess, near the end of that, leaving Osaka, where as the troops were like looking to, inspect those boxes where the ladies would have been, he was willing to stand up and like, stop them from their inspection, saying like, hey, you got to respect their privacy. That was something I wouldn't have expected Blackthorn to do, especially since he's still their prisoner. He's gonna be far away from his men. He doesn't have his ship. That really surprised me. I don't know if it was planned, but yeah. And then, especially when they're trying to escape the harbor, I was very surprised that they were able to get through it. Because before, when they saw the blockade, they thought, okay, there's no way we can get through with this ship. But somehow they go to the other ship, and that ship somehow was able to get through. Like, these other people had these fire bow and arrows. They didn't just shoot it. They just let the ship ram through it, which I think was kind of like bad on the writer's part. I have a lot to say, but I'm going to stop there.
I really enjoyed that chapter. I did.
Yeah.
Chapter 3. I can't remember what I rated it. I wish I would have went back and looked to see what I rated each episode. But I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed all the maritime stuff where you saw Blackthorn sailing so far, right? I hope we get more, to be honest with you. I like it. It's cool. They do a really good job shooting the shot, when they shoot the stuff with the boats and whatnot, everything and all that. They did a great job with that in chapter 3. What do you think, Andrew? Oh, do you have an MVP, Rathacon?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I guess the character that really shown was Michael's husband. Like, the way how he like sacrificed himself, like, as they were escaping, that was just like epic.
I knew he wasn't dead. I knew he wasn't dead.
How do you know he wasn't dead?
I knew it.
Because they don't show you when he died.
That's
always a thing for me. Is like, if you don't see a character die on screen, they're not dead until they die.
Everybody on the review show was like, he's not dead. Everybody, he's alive. And then, of course, he showed up in chapter 5. So, right?
Yeah, I mean, they fooled me at episode 3. So, yeah.
And that would, of course, be what is his name? Montero or whatever.
Toda, no, is it Toda?
Yeah, Toda Montero. Yep. The one that's every time that he's around Mariko in the first 3 chapters, you could see this like uneasiness in her, right? Or like this like fear almost.
Oh, that dude just stares daggers at Blackthorn like the whole time. He's just I don't know what you can almost tell what he's thinking. Like he just wants to get rid of him.
He's nice as a shogun though, bro. As a samurai and shit and whatnot. He's nice. Like seriously. He's got some serious bow skills too. What do you think, Andrew? Any thoughts on chapter 3? Anything stood out to you, whatever you want to talk about?
Yeah, back to what Caston was talking about, how that they were trying to sneak. They're basically trying to sneak out Toranaga out of the city, and he was disguised as one of the women. Yeah. And if they took any closer look and realized that that's not him, then they would have been in serious trouble. So that's why Blackthorn. I think he realized, because I keep thinking of that line he told the Spaniard where he's like I'm not gonna die here. Like I'm not gonna die here. So he realized that if he doesn't get out of there, he's gonna have to do something to kind of.
Because nobody else saw them do the swap, so that's why nobody else tried to do anything.
Yeah, he like looked back and he can see like a woman like kind of just like running away.
Yeah, so that's why nobody else did anything but him. Nobody else saw the swap but him and Mariko.
So that's why he had to cause a commotion, because he realized if they take a closer look, they're gonna realize that it's him in one of the little boxes. So the whole thing about women's purity and all, which I found that really entertaining, and the whole commotion.
But he's still a prisoner though, so it's like. He didn't really have an incentive.
Okay.
Right.
I guess, but I figure at that point he probably realized that Toranaga was at least a little more warmed up more to him than anybody else who had been there with him so far. So it just seemed like, I feel like he knew he had him in his kind of like clutches, so to speak, with the map and all that stuff. Like, okay, like I got them. Like they're interested. And then when he reveals that the assassin came for Blackthorn, not for him actually, like he realizes he's important now to whatever that's going on. So that's probably why he figures like my best chance is going to be with this guy to get out of here. So that's what I'm guessing.
Chapter 3 is when we actually, I forgot to mention, you have to like mention at least once that this is when we get our first real like long battle scene, like extended fight scene, like in the series, is in chapter 3. When we get the attack on the caravan.
Right?
That was well shot too, right, Andrew? That was really well done.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But talking back to this episode, this was what I'm talking about. This is the moment where at the end of the episode where the Spaniard guy kind of like they have that exchange where they're just talking crap to each other across the ships, and they're just talking about each other's moms and stuff.
He does Blackthorn a solid and shit and whatnot.
And then like his captain orders him to do something to Blackthorn, and he just kind of doesn't do it. He kind of just lets him. He tells him to steer
closer to the ship to
pin him against the rocks, right?
Yeah.
And he's curious. He's like you see that moment where like he could have done that, but after he lets him out, he's like, okay, like I paid you back. He says it like under his breath, like, all right, like that's for like, you know, saving him from like the rocks from the water and stuff. Like, so like it's a small role, but I think the Spaniard for me, Rodriguez, right? I think his name is
Rodriguez. Yeah,
I think he's like the standout character for me, just because I really like that character. I like how he's kind of morally ambiguous, where like he's loyal to like the Portuguese and everything, but like he gives Blackthorn, like he's like kind of like, you do something for me, like I'll do it back for you kind of thing. Like he's very just one for one, and I like how he's just kind of like his own guy. He's his own character, even though he's kind of playing, you know, both sides kind of thing.
Well, they're also both seamen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like think about it. They're both like, you know,
pilot. He calls them, right? Pilot.
Yeah, they're both ship people. That's what they do, right? So like, there's almost like an order there. I would think in that time period. You know what I mean? Like, you know, kind of a camaraderie there amongst sailors, whatever you want to call it.
Maybe.
You know, I would think.
Maybe.
Because I mean, that's the lifestyle at that point, right? Like you're like it's real dedication and shit, whatnot. You're living on the boat, and all that shit, whatnot. It's your life, you know. But either way, so chapter 4, I believe, is the Eightfold Fence. It is. Upon the galley's arrival in Ijiro, Toranaga inspects Yabushigi's army, which is a really cool scene, before departing for Edo. Blackthorn is informed by Mariko that his crew were relocated to Edo, and that they and the Aramis now belong to Toranaga. Furthermore, he's given a home, a healthy salary, and Usami Fuji, Hiramatsu's granddaughter, as his consort, provided that he trains Yagoshi's army on combat tactics for 6 months. Of course, Blackthorn's all pissed off about it. That's how he is. Meanwhile, Yabushigi's nephew, Kashigi Omi, the guy who pissed on Blackfoot in episode 1, chapter 1, suggests to Yabushigi that in Toranaga's absence, Yabushigi can take the confiscated Aramis guns and cannons and offer them to Ishido. During the first week of training, Blackthorn teaches the army the basics of English naval combat, first by helping them improve their efficiency with the cannons. Later, Nabara Josen, Ishido's retainer, arrives and tells Yabushigi to return to Osaka to pledge his loyalty to the remaining Dynamo regents. Knowing that his return to Osaka will most likely end in his death by seppuku, Yabushigi invites Josen to stay the night and for a demonstration of the cannons the next day. At dinner, Blackthorn gives Fuji one of his guns as a token of gratitude. Very good scene. In exchange, she gives him her late father's swords. Riko sneaks into Blackthorn's room at night and sleeps with him. Later claiming the next morning, she and Fuji hired a courtesan for him. The next day, during their demonstration, Nagakado, who was, of course, Toranaga's son, takes matters into his own hands and kills Josen and his retinue with chain shots from the cannons, much to the chagrin of Yabushigi. And this episode was actually dedicated to the memory of crew member Larry Beckett, who worked as a cannon expert and technical advisor. So, I'll start with you, Andrew. Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to mention? Anything you want to highlight from chapter 4, the Eightfold Fence? I thought it was an outstanding chapter, probably maybe my favorite out of the 5 that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, you're right. It is an outstanding episode.
Fuji breaks out as a character in this chapter.
Yes,
because when Toranaga leaves, it's the first chapter where the secondary characters really have to carry the weight of the show. Go ahead.
Yes, I love the whole thing where they like you're talking about when they arrive and everybody, all the soldiers are assembled on the shore and they greet him, and right before this, I think is when Toranaga informs I forget his name, but the one starts with the Y. Yabushige. He tells them that he's stepping down from the regents, that he's like resigning, he's not gonna be one of them, and you see like Yabushige, like he starts to panic, realizing that like, oh, like what's gonna happen to my fief? What's gonna happen to like my, he's like very concerned that he's stepping down, and now like they no longer have like that protection, kind of, so to speak, as like one of the official like on the council kind of thing. And so he starts to kind of start scheming now in the background. He's like, oh man, like like the guy Ishido back in Osaka's gonna think that I'm gonna turn tail or whatever, and then he kind of doubles down to Toranaga and says like, no, like hey, like I'm still gonna be faithful, like you're still like we're still good in this, like hey, we can hold out, we'll be like well protected here. But like you said later on, when he's on his own, he's kind of scheming with his guys. The guy with I think it's the one with the eye patch, right? Like one of his like
that's his second in command, kind of. The guy
his other guy with him, and he's like, it's like, oh man, like what am I gonna do now? And then that's what you said, like Omi, right? Omi, his nephew, the one with the big bald spot right here, the shaved spot, talks about, hey, like we could like hand over the the weapons, hand over the equipment, and he's like, I don't know what I want to do. Like if I go. Right, he gets like summoned, he has to go, and it's like he's put in like this really awkward position where like. Because then later on, Toranaga finds out that he's been summoned too, and he's like kind of just like, well, if I'm like screwed either way. Like if I go and I announce my allegiance to these guys, I can't like come back to Toranaga. Like I don't have to like I'm like dishonored, and like he's really in a tough spot. Like if he sticks with Toranaga, one army, like his army is not going to match up to the other four. Like he is like in a really tough spot. He's trying to do what's best for him, best for his family, best for his fiefdom, and he's just kind of royally screwed either way. And so like I think for me, he's the standout obviously in this episode for me, because I think he's trying to do he's in crisis management mode, and he's just like so frustrated, and like so as Blackthorn shows him how to use the English cannons much better, to like much way more accurate, which is interesting too, because actually the English were known to be better.
It's rifling. They use rifling in their cannons and whatnot. Like the etching inside the cannon and whatnot.
Inside etching to put the spin on the ball.
They had started doing that. The British, whoever whatnot, had started doing it and whatnot at that point, and the Portuguese weren't doing it.
Yeah, it didn't catch on till later on, but so like they've already been turned off of the idea of using cannons, because the Portuguese show them like they're very inaccurate. They're just kind of for shock and awe, really. And so he's kind of drilling them on the tactics of using like the English cannons. And so then Yabushige has like when I forget the guy's name, but when he shows up, it begins with a J. Josen. Yeah. There you go. Josen shows up. And he kind of put in like okay, like well, we're here to after he summons him, and he's like, oh man, like what? He's like, why don't you guys just stay for the night? Just stay for the night. Let me show you this really cool thing like we've been training and like tactic wise, right? And so he stays over the night, and then Omi is talking with Yoshi, right? Tonganara's son. Like both of the sons are kind of talking with each other and trying to figure out what to do. And like Yoshi's kind of in the position where like he wants to show up, like what? Everybody kind of puts me down, talks over me, like let me show them what's up, kind of thing, right? And so then he does a demonstration, right? He puts apparently he puts other cannons on the opposite end of the field. I'm guessing that's where we see when he signals with his sword. That's where we see a blast come from the opposite end. It's like kind of hidden from the mist or whatever. And they just completely obliterate Josen's like whole like posse and him, and just you see him fall. His like his arm at the above the elbow is like missing, and he's just like he popped off and caused a whole issue, and then it's just like, oh, like what'd you do now? But that was, I remember I was watching episode 4, and I was kind of just like, like when you're kind of watching, but you're like kind of like starting to fall asleep a little bit. And it was that moment when everybody started freaking blowing up with the mist of blood, and like, oh crap, like that's like, we're doing this now. Like we're kind of done with just the talking. Like now we're gonna start seeing like actual action. And that kind of snapped me out of it.
Let me get Jasmine on chapter 4. Jasmine, what do you think? Did you have any thoughts on chapter 4, the Eightfold Fence? Nobody's talked about the cool scene where Fuji puts the gun on fucking Obi.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna start with that first because I really want to talk about that. Okay, the gift of the gun, very thoughtful of Blackthorn. What I liked even more was when the guy was like, "Give me the guns." She's like, "Get out of here."
I like Fuji.
Like
I like how she has big balls and shit and whatnot. She straightens Blackthorn out, and I kind of like it. Like I honestly, I think Blackthorn's stupid for like pillowing with her and shit and whatnot and all that. Like I would.
Yeah, I mean, they seem way better together. But I mean, think about it.
It was a tender moment. It was honestly one of the most tender moments for me in the whole show when like they actually exchanged gifts and she gave him the swords and all that shit and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, wait, was that actually before Blackthorn pillowed with Maiko?
That's before they pillow.
Oh my god!
They pillow after that. Yeah, after the gift exchange, they pillow.
Oh my god! I wonder if Fuji knows about it.
Yeah, Fuji knows they're banging. They like Andrew said. The walls are made out of paper.
Yeah, I mean they're very quiet.
You can't fuck in one of those houses and have people in there and not know you're fucking.
Hey, they were very quiet throughout like the whole.
It doesn't matter, bro. It's sex.
I know, but I'm surprised she was okay with it.
What's she gonna do? She don't have to do it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, she was still disgusted with.
Although at the end but after chapter 5, I think she might want a pillow with Blackfoot.
You're funny, Jeff.
I love Fuji. Fuji's my hero, man. I'm all about her.
That's gonna be like the standout character for episode 4.
She busted out in chapter 4. Yeah, she busted out, man.
Yeah,
yeah, she really did.
And then the other guy, the other standout, would have to be the guy who I think the son of Toranaga. You know how he signaled those cannons? Like
his name is the hardest to pronounce out of all of them.
His first name I think is Yoshi. They call him first. He refers to himself as Yoshi's and something. Yeah.
The other part is the hard part to do. It's Nag Akada or something.
Okay, but here's the question that I have for both of you. Who inspired him to just set up the cannons far away and just annihilate Ishido's troops?
I think it was in that scene when they're together by the campfire. Omi, which it would be the nephew of Yabushige, kind of suggests
they were drinking sake too.
Yeah, they were just drinking, just kicking back, and like what are we gonna do about the situation, man? Like we can't let Jozen go back to the regents and tell them this is the technology they're using now. Like we can't let him go back. And he's like. And then so Omi kind of hints like, hey, like, are you gonna do what are you gonna do about this? And or he's like, oh, we should maybe are you gonna send your? He's like, oh, you should send your dad like a letter, but by bird or whatever, and ask for ask him for what we should do. And then Yoshi's like, nah, I'm gonna take care of this.
Okay. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. But still, though, it's shouldn't Toranaga be the one to dictate that? Because you're gonna start a war if you do that.
The son is kind of impulsive. He's a little bit of a hothead.
Yeah.
Plus he's young. He's brash.
Mm-hmm.
He's young. You know what I'm saying? I think he looks like he's got to be what they don't actually disclose ages of any of the characters, but he looks like he's probably maybe 18, 20 years old.
I mean, it's the same thing that happens at the end of House of the Dragon, where the same thing with one of the sons just brashly acts out of turn and kicks off the whole inter-war affair or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. I forgot about that. And good plug on House of the Dragon that we'll be reviewing on Mondays in a couple months. Before you know it, we'll be reviewing it. Jasmine, any other thoughts on Chapter 4?
Any other thoughts? No.
Andrew stole the thunder on that chapter.
He stole the thunder, and I'm glad for
sorry.
that.
If you don't stop me, I just keep.
No, that's good. I wanted to focus more on the smaller aspects.
But yeah, I left. I mean, I ignored that part. I love the part where he finally gets swords in exchange for like the guns, and he comes out, and everybody's kind of just groaning, like, "Oh, he's got swords now." Like, oh, like he's just like further getting immersed in the culture. It's like she's like, it's not right for you to be like my husband, or not my husband. It's not right for me to be your consort or whatever, and you don't even have like swords, which like everybody here in this culture has swords. Like what are you doing? So like, here's these swords, and just wear them on your waist. You don't have to use them.
Guns.
Yeah.
Blackthorn and Mariku were really good at fighting and shit and whatnot in that battle in chapter 3. The caravan battle, all that and whatnot. Like Mariko was the one that was nasty with that spear and shit and whatnot. She was killing it.
Yeah,
literally.
No, she has some game. She can actually fight. What's her name? Fuji, literally, I love her, man. Seriously, she is the bomb. And then in chapter 5 too, she came back strong, right? Like seriously, she came back hard, strong in chapter 5. I thought. Chapter 5 was a weird chapter, kind of.
This is the one with the rotting bird, right?
With the rotting bird, yeah, broke into the fist.
That depressed me. I felt so bad, but
with the bird and all that.
Was he trying to do like taxidermy or something with that?
No, he was doing something that they still do over there. It's actually a real thing where they actually do hang like game birds like that and whatnot to toughen the meat. And to increase the flavor, concentrate the flavor. They let the bird hang, or the carcass hang for like a full week, right outside. And I think what it is probably that with Blackthorn, he didn't take into consideration the different conditions, weather-wise, humidity, whatnot, everything, right? In Japan versus where he's from. You know what I'm saying? That's why it was so bad. But
he didn't mind though.
Well, no, because he does that routinely. That's the actual thing. It's a custom. That's done now.
Oh wow.
I think the English do that too with like certain seafood too, like certain fish. They like even though it smells bad, like they let it hang, and like you're saying, like I think it's called curing is a process. Curing.
I've been so into Shogun that for once I really actually I don't usually do a lot of it. Mention stuff like that you would find on like the snippet stuff, the background stuff, the little hey, this is actually a real thing kind of deal. I've been doing a lot more of that with this. And no, that is an actual custom that's still kept. And it does it cures the meat, and it increases the flavor of the meat by letting it sit and actually go bad.
But you don't get sick from that? Wouldn't you get sick from raw?
Yeah.
No, I mean apparently people eat it.
Oh, okay.
Wait, no, but you have to cook it first, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Oh,
there you go, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, he made it in rabbit stew. Remember, he made it in stew.
Oh, dude, they didn't even like it.
Oh, they didn't want to eat it.
No. So Toranaga returns to Ejiro with his entire army. Great scene. And upon learning of Nag Akado's killing of Josen, he strips him of his command of the cannon regiment. He gives position to Obi, which was fucking fabulous.
Bruh.
Having survived the ordeal in Osaka to escape to Edo, Buntero moves in to live with Blackthorn and Mariko. Blackthorn is gifted a freshly killed pheasant by Toranaga, which he hangs in the front yard of his house to age and instructs the household not to touch it until it matures. During dinner, Blackthorn and Buntero engage in a sake drinking binge before Buntero proves his archery skills while drunk and forces Mariko to tell Blackthorn about her father, Akachi Jinsei, murdered Lord Kuroda Nobuushisha, the previous ruler of Japan before the Taiko, and was forced to execute his family before committing seppuku, and that she married Buntero was forced to live as atonement for her father's crimes. Later that night, upon learning that Mariko has been assaulted by Buntero, Blackthorn confronts him outside, but Buntero lays down his sword and apologizes for disturbing his home. Too much sake. The next day, after a long discussion with Mariko, Blackthorn returns home to discover that Yujiro, the house gardener, took down the rotting pheasant to bury. It was executed as a result. Blackthorn declines Fuji's request to kill her for disobeying his order regarding the pheasant and approaches Toranaga with a request to permanently leave Japan. A massive earthquake causes a landslide, and Blackthorn rescues Toranaga from being buried alive. Blackthorn returns to a heavily damaged Ajiro and discovers that Fuji had been injured. The following day, Murji leads Yobushiki and Omi to Yujiro's hut and manages to convince them that he was the spy they were searching for, Toranaga's spy. In Osaka, the remaining regents debate on who will take Toranaga's place in the council. Ochiba Nokata finally arrives and reunites with Yachihu before telling Yoshido that the council will now listen to her, which was dope. Then very interesting. And so that's the end of our chapters. Jason, I'll let you start. Your thoughts on chapter 5, which would be, I guess, you went all the way to chapter 6, right?
I mean, I was nearly done with episode 6, but then I had to come to the live stream.
Okay, so your thoughts on chapter 5. That one should be fresh for you.
Yeah, chapter 5 was pretty interesting. If I recall, the whole landslide, that has to be CGI, because there's no way that is like real.
Of course.
Yeah, I was also surprised that like in the aftermath, it's like I thought everyone would be dead. They're not. It's like most of them are just injured, which surprises me a lot.
They didn't really show the how the army made out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, they mentioned that like I think he lost like 1,000 men in the landslide in the earthquake.
Did they say that?
Someone throws out like 1,000 or several hundred. I forget which one it is, but someone mentions it like once he's in the village after they're doing like that weird memorial thing at night. Someone mentions like
I missed that. I must have missed that. And honestly, the whole thing went by so fast that I couldn't even really see the toll that the army took.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty dark. It wasn't like really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, and then I'll let Andrew continue with the whole mudslide. There's something I really want to talk about. It's like when Maiko's husband moved in. You know that dinner they had? It's like you have Fuji, Maiko. I don't know that guy's name. And
Montero.
Montero
with a B. Montero.
Buntero.
Yeah.
Oh, his nickname.
But then he doesn't like him calling him that, so he's
I call him Montero.
Toda-sama.
Yeah. Okay, that was very funny how it's like, you know, he like comments like, yeah, that guy eats like a monkey. And he starts eating like a monkey, like in a competition, if you notice that. That was just like funny.
Start chugging the sake and then go back and forth.
They're doing shot like trap a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then one thing that like I was confused by is how was it that suddenly in that dinner it's like he suddenly like demands his bow and the guy just like he shoots the arrow. Okay, like he's like a great archer, but bro, the arrow's like so close to her. It's like, what are you trying to say?
I'm not sure what that's supposed to prove.
That was just to prove that he's really good at archery, that he can shoot the he's like choose the left post or the right post, like the right post. So like that's the one that's like, you know, closer to.
Oh, I know he hit the post with both the shots, all that shit, whatnot. I didn't understand why she had to be a part of it, really.
Oh, to show how good he was. It's kind of like a William Tell thing, like when you put an apple on someone's head and you like, you know, stand there to shoot them. Like you're so good at it that you trust yourself that you're not going to actually kill the person. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
He was just showing off. He was just showing off just how good he was with the bow. Like, because it was like conversation. It was like the comparing bows to gun or to the cannons. He's like, "Oh, my bow and arrow can outshoot any cannon of yours," or something like that, or like greater distance or whatever.
Blackfoot should have been like, I already stuck my long bow fucking up
dude,
Rico, motherfucker, Montero.
I mean, Jeff, if you were Blackthorn, I can see you do that, 100%.
Shit, if I was Blackthorn, I would have already had Fuji and Mariko at the same time.
Your little harem.
Fuck yeah,
my
dude.
God. Okay, and that final scene, not the final scene, but like the final thing I want to talk about was
Japanese shit. This is Japanese back in the day Japanese culture and shit where they just pillow. If you tell them to pillow, they're that Fuji a pillow.
It's good for your health, they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a lot of pain from a cut, I mean, it's a great way to
draw attention away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and that one scene where it's like you can like hear the domestic violence and it's just like you can hear it, but they don't even do anything. Like they just want to stop anyone from intervening. Like that's just crazy.
Because that's how they get down back then.
Damn, that explains a lot why Maiko likes Blackthorn.
Blackthorn probably beats his fucking chick's ass fucking over there in fucking England or whatnot.
Well,
he was very sweet. He was very sweet.
He says it during the dinner. He's like, "Oh, like tell your husband, like where I come from, like women are also like the man's property." He said that. So,
But then he also said like he also thinks like they should be more.
Oh yeah, but like you should treat they're like
Well,
like, oh they're our property, but also we're like maybe you shouldn't be so like.
I'd imagine his culture would be a little bit more evolved in terms of the like equality of the sexes and whatnot, everything compared to like where feudal Japan's at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at where Japan's even at now culturally with women and whatnot, right? Although they've really like had a lot of like change. You know what I mean? There's still some like weird shit over there.
I also like, and like no one's mentioned this so far. I don't know if you mentioned it in your individual episodes, Jeff, but I like how they repeatedly call him like savage or barbarian or something.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
And just because he has like facial, I don't know if it's just because he has facial hair or what, but like it's really funny because he thinks of them that way too. He calls them the Japans and like he calls them like he looks down on their culture and they look down on him, and it's like, dude, both of your cultures are like.
I think it's because he just looks different.
Yeah, I think it is because he looks different, but I think it's because he's very shaggy with like his facial hair and stuff, and like to them it's like it looks so like off-putting where they're very well groomed and such. And I just find it funny how they call him like barbarian or like savage, and it's like I'm sure like him, Blackthorn, back in his own back at home, it would be like reverse where like that's very like normal, like we're on top of innovation over here. So I find it just very funny how both of these cultures clash so much like that. The whole like the slurping, like slurping, like in most of the Western world is seen as very like rude and proper. Like if you did that with me, like oh, like you have no table manners, and to them it's like oh, he's eating like a monkey, and it's just funny how they just these different like opinions of how certain things should be done just kind of clash with each other. I find that really funny.
Jasmine, you want to pick an MVP for Chapter 5?
Okay, so the standout character has been Michael's husband.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is he such an asshole?
I mean, yeah, he stood out. I mean, he came back from the dead.
Yeah, that's true. He came back from the dead.
Yeah, and then I guess the second standout.
He has Godzilla -1 moment.
Ooh, who should that guy be? This is so difficult. I'm not gonna say Fuji. I don't know. Fuji's just
Fuji's
doesn't make.
Fuji's busted out. A lot of people are talking about Fuji,
but not Chapter 5.
In Chapter 5, a lot of people were talking about Fuji. She's really broke out. Like when you read the article recaps online and whatnot, like I do with these episodes and shit. Like people are talking about Fuji a lot from these last 2 chapters.
I mean, what did she do that stood out?
She's much more relevant in the conversation compared to the first couple chapters. Is my point, right?
Oh yeah, that's
people are actually talking about her. You know what I mean and whatnot. In the first 3 chapters, there really wasn't much to say about her.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, she's there. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a side story type deal. Now she's actually now that she's actually become like a core character, kind of.
Okay, this reminds me. What is that lady who's like in the council? She's like so high status. Who's that lady?
Lady Ochiba?
That's
the Taiko's son's mother, the consort to the former Dynamo.
Yeah, she's the wife of the former
consort, not wife, consort.
I'm sorry. Yeah, she would be like a courtesan, right? Like a courtesan was hired to bear him a son because he couldn't have
what Fuji is to hear about to Blackthorn, a consort.
Yeah,
that's what she was essentially.
Oh, and that's how she became high status.
She's
gave the mother of the.
She gave birth to the ruler of Japan that the regents are stepping in for until he's of age.
Holy cat! That's why she hates Tokunaga.
That's why she told Shido at the end of Chapter 5, like, from now on, you're just going to do what the fuck I tell you.
Wait, but why she hate Tokunaga?
Toranaga? I don't know why she doesn't like Toranaga.
I think you find out in episode 6.
Okay, I'll have to. Maybe I need to continue.
She talks about why that's an issue.
Yeah, she really has not been a part of the series at all.
So no, she just barely showed up, like episode 5.
Yeah. The only time we saw her besides this was in the flashback. In Chapter 2, which we never mentioned that really good flashback back to the Dynamo, the Taiku, and his death and shit and whatnot. That was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andrew, Chapter 5, sir. Did Jackson leave you any scraps?
I don't know because I'm like
I left you so many scraps, bro.
I don't want to say too much.
He left you the earthquake.
Okay, because 5 and 6 kind of blur to me, and I don't want to say stuff that's ahead of the next season in terms of like characters. Like I already mentioned, Lady Ochiba, like she plays a role in episode 6. But yeah, the whole when Toda-sama like breaks down and like assaults his wife and runs out of the house, and then Blackthorn I'm like dude, just stay inside the house, like don't go chasing. He already left, like, and he goes chases him out in the street. I'm like, oh, we're about to have a showdown. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have a. He's like reaching for his blade. I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna fight him, and then he just puts it down and it crouches and stoops in the street, and he's like, I'm sorry, like I brought dishonor to your household. I'm like, oh, okay, we're having like a character growth moment here, kind of thing. And then Blackthorn's like just like frustrated, like get up, like, and then he says like too much sake, and he's like sake, like that's not an excuse, and he just gets like frustrated, like okay, like he heads back to the house. So I thought that was interesting. But overall, I'm trying to, when I think of episode 5 of what happened, the whole Omi being like to Yashu, I forget his uncle's name. Yobi, the one with the Y. And he tells him
Yabushiki.
Thank you, Yabushiga. Yeah, and he's like, oh, like he's turned over like command of the artillery division to me. And Yabushiga, you can tell, is kind of pissed off, or like, because he's doing the thing where he's like, oh, should I punish my nephew for suggesting that he, for this to happen? He's actually, you should reward him. Like, oh, he's very cunning. And Yabushiga's like, what the hell, man? Like, you're you're leaning like you want to punish him, and like, oh, like let me punish him. He's like, no.
Toranaga plays those games, man.
He does, and you can just see like Yabushiga's like what is going on? Like he seems like so frustrated, so like just like he's just like, he even mentions like I forget the metaphor he uses, but he's like being like yanked around like a toy or something. Like he says
Toranaga's fucking with him because he knows that fucking that Yabushigi's playing both sides of the fence and shit. So like that's why he's fucking with him like that and whatnot, because he doesn't want Yabushigi to have a firm grasp, right, of what's really under going on with Toranaga.
Yeah. And so Omi is like he tells like his uncle's pissed off. He's like, hey man, I can give you back, like you should control. I'll give control to you. And he gets even more. He's like you're gonna tell me what I'm gonna do with what it's already mine. Like you can't give me something I already have. And so then Omi's like, oh shoot, like what do I do? Oh I'm sorry, like what do I do now? Because like he's just unhinged at this point. So even suggesting that you can do him a favor is like pissing him off, because like no, like that's mine to begin with. Like don't even like think that you're doing anything for me. So like I don't know, like I that's why I was confused, Jeff, when you said you thought like he was like when you thought that he was a good character. I wasn't sure you meant morally.
No, I thought he was cool. I just think he's cool. He's a cool dude. He's cool, man.
Because I just find him, he's like a very frustrating character to watch just like unfold on screen, I think. But he does it very well, though. He does it very well. Whenever he's on screen, I'm like, okay, he's gonna start kissing ass right now, or like, what's he gonna do? Like, because he's a very complex character. Like I said, he's in a very weird situation where like he's trying to survive, and he's like, who am I supposed to cast my my vote for? Who am I supposed to throw myself into so that I can survive this big ordeal and stuff? So, but yeah, with that concerning episode 5. I'm trying. They have that stage play, right? With they recount what happened with the family, right, of the previous Taika, and then we have like they're looking for someone to add to the council, right?
Yeah.
And Ono, I think Ono is his name. Ono and one of the other guys suggest like another lord, and they're like, and he's like, oh, like. Oh, I'm trying to remember what he says. One of them, Ishido mentions putting someone, and they're like, oh no, he like stinks of something. And then the owner's like, oh, what about Lord so and so? He's like, oh no, he stinks of Christian. He says in return.
Yeah. The one guy's like, if you get that, bring that guy in, I'm just gonna seppuku myself.
Yeah, and so Ishido's like putting them on notice that he knows that like there's clearly a favoritism of like where religion is like what puts you in the right the right clique kind of thing, and so like they're kind of on notice now and like alert, and so it seems like they come to a compromise with this Lord Ito, right? Ito, who's like he was a stage play. He says his true like passion is like drama and the arts, and they basically offer him like, hey, like how do you feel about like just becoming one of the lords so we can get this thing over with? And he's like, all right, like
you're going to episode 6 now. I don't know anything about it.
I'm okay. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm confused with what I saw.
Yeah, you're past the point I've watched.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. Hey, you like talking about Shogun.
It like blurs together, like Cosmo was saying, like it kind of just blurs together. So.
Do you have an MVP for chapter 5?
Yeah.
Blackthorn ain't get no love on the MVPs, man.
Well, because he's the main character.
You know what's funny is I really don't care for Blackthorn that much. I know he's like the central character where everything revolves. He's kind of like Andor is in Andor, where Andor is cool, but all the characters surrounding Andor are way more interesting and more dynamic to me. I feel like
they want Tornaga, Blackthorn, and Rico to be the triumphant. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the main three characters.
I feel Blackthorn is our as in the audience's kind of window into the rest of this world, and because of that, I just don't really think he's like. I feel frustrated, like as the other people do, like when he just keeps getting rewarded for just random stuff. And I'm kind of like, yeah, like why is he getting rewarded for all this stuff? Like I know he's a main character, but it's like I almost feel biased.
I get tired of him bitching all the time and whatnot. I feel like they gave him a house. They were giving him like $60,000 a year
I just want to go.
shit or
I
whatever.
just want to leave.
They gave him some hot chick to fuck. You know what I'm saying? Whatnot. He won't even bang her.
I'm just frustrated with the whole Blackthorn character. Where like I feel like everybody else in the show, where I'm like, yeah, like why is he getting all this stuff? Like he's like I don't know. I just don't think he's that interesting really, because he talks again. I don't know what's in episode 6, what's episode 5, but like he starts to talk a little bit about his background, and it's still kind of just like okay, but that doesn't really make you that interesting to begin.
That'd be chapter 6.
Okay, all right. So I'm just kind of I don't really care for. I honestly don't care much for Black. I mean, I want him to live because he's like the window, the Western English presence in the show that where everything unfolds.
He's gonna live, dude.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like other than that, like I really don't care for him as a character in the show. He's just the vehicle for the show to progress.
I think mostly it's the female viewers that really are the Blackthorn fans.
Oh, really? I don't know. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of female guests come on, and like all they really want to talk about is like Blackthorn bagging Mariko. When's it gonna happen?
Oh really?
You know? Yeah. They were all excited and whatnot, and like flipping out and whatnot when he finally.
Is this true, Jeff? On your show?
Yeah, the female guests, all they want to talk about is fucking Blackfoot banging Rico.
Okay, I'm gonna go rewatch episode. Was it 4 when it happened? I'm gonna rewatch your review of that to see if that's true.
I'm telling you,
it's 3, isn't it?
That's all they're hyped about. Anyways, but
you sure it's not you?
No, I'm serious. I knew it was gonna happen. I just thought, I just thought it was stupid that like I would bang Fuji too if it was me. But that's just me though. Why not? But
I don't think they accept that in ancient Japan.
They would have, they'd be down with it. Like Andrew said, pillowing is good. She's his consort. If he wanted to pillow with her, she'd pillow.
I just love the term pillowing.
I know.
It's such a clean.
If he would simply try, she would not like turn him down. You know what I'm saying?
Are you down to pillow? Like, oh
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. If he just mentions pillow, she's gonna lay down, basically. So there you go. It's on at that point. So no, but all right, let's do some why don't we do like I guess maybe like a mid-season recap rating. And then we'll do like our final thoughts, so we'll get the hell out of here. So if you can, we'll do a 1 out of 5. We'll do a 1 through 5 rating instead of a 1 through 10. Starting with you, Jassim. What would you give chapters 1 through 5? Mid-season report here. What's your grade on Shogun?
4. Leaning 4.5.
Okay, Andrew.
I'm a little bit more in the 3.5 to 4 kind of space. I think I'm leaning more towards 4, just because things are starting to pick up, and I'm interested to see where the show's going. I just have an issue, I think, a little bit with the pacing. I feel like for a show, because I'm counting down the episodes as I watch, I'm like, okay, there's like 10, I think, total, and I'm like, I feel like there's not enough runway left for the show to really wrap up all this stuff. So I'm just like, how is this going to turn out? So I feel like
they'll probably throw in some long episodes at the end.
Oh, they might. I mean, they might do that. I think even
or it might just explode all in one.
Just like House of the Dragon. All of a sudden, at the end, they'll probably be like,
you all of a sudden have a show episode that's like twice the length of a regular episode. Yeah, they could probably do that. That's possible. They might. I don't know if they've released like the running time for any of the episodes.
They've already had an episode that was over an hour. It wouldn't shock me if they did it again.
Was that the first one? Wasn't the first one?
Like it was an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. So
if they did it in the first episode, you think they're not going to do it at the end?
Probably, yeah, that's a good point. Probably like a longer, like big old season finales, series finale kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm pretty positive on the show. My gripes are really so minor that it's not even like really a big deal. But I think 4 out of 5 is where I'm at.
I'm going to do a 4.5 out of 5, but it's close to do a 4.75 because I think the series is literally perfect. I really do. I think it's like there's no messaging in it. There's no woke shit. Nobody's selling anything. There's no like, there's no woke points trying to be made with this shit, right? It's pure. It's a pure TV series made to entertain people, right? And also be historically accurate, which I believe it's doing a good job doing. I do. And pretty much, I'll leave it there because there's no point in me asking you guys or talking about, what are your thoughts on the other half of the show? It's a fucking awesome show. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Right. We can talk about it with, later on when the show's over or whatever and whatnot. We'll do a full season recap and talk about it then. Gentlemen, final thoughts, final words on Shogun. Starting with you, Andrew, and then to you, Jason.
All right, I'm just gonna give you my final words, and I gotta bounce because I have something else to do right now.
All right, so good. I was calling it right there anyway.
Perfect. Overall, I really love the show. It kind of sucks now though, because like when you binge a show when it's not done, you have to wait. And I hate the week to week wait. So now I'm caught up. I'm like, oh man, I gotta wait for the next 4 episodes over 4 weeks. So that kind of sucks. But I've never really paid attention to Hulu like exclusive shows, and like this was like the first one that jumped out at me where I'm like, oh, like this looks kind of cool. Like as someone who's like into video games and very much into like anime and kind of stuff, like it's cool to see like a Japanese focused show that's not a cartoon or a video game, to just see it through the lens of historical, with people based on real people, not exactly the real people. Like the 5 regents, there were 5 regents in real life. Yep. Not necessarily named those names and stuff, but like that's a real thing and all that.
Shido's a real person that was somebody in real life, whoever, whatnot. He's based off a real character.
Yeah, like Blackthorn, Mariko, Toga.
All of them, yeah,
all of them are based on actual real people. Yeah, they just changed the names just for for certain reasons, because it's like fictional and stuff, but it's mostly based on real life history. And I love how they don't really shy away from certain things. Like they're not over the board, like they don't like do like heavy nudity, but like they're not afraid to like show like blood. And so like like people exploding with the chain shot cannon.
This isn't even doing nudity. It's pretty
which is interesting because like I figured like they would go for that for like the rating they already have, and they're kind of just like, no, like we're gonna be a little tasteful, but we're just gonna really enhance like the gore. And, like that's interesting that they're doing it that way. But like I really am intrigued by the premise. I don't know how Toranaga, thank you. That's an issue, and it's my issue. It's my personal issue. Is that it's so hard for me to pronounce the names that I get the character when people talk about the characters, I get them confused, and that's strictly a Western issue because our names are just Tom and Jack. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard for me to focus on who's who. I've had to like rewind the episode sometimes a couple of minutes just because I'm like wait, who are they talking about again? And I have to like check and like, oh, Ishido, oh, the head regent Ishido, like okay, that's who they're talking about. So like that's like little stuff like that, but that's more of a me problem rather than the problem with the show, because you can't help it. Those are the names, right? You can't do anything about that. So that's more of a me problem, but I'm curious to see how things are going to unfold. Is he going to be like the real life? Like, is Blackthorn going to, stay there forever and just, retire there? Or is he going to go back to England? Like, I don't know. So I'm really intrigued and I can't wait to see the rest of the show. And so, like I already said, 4 out of 5 for me. So that's where I'm at.
Jasmine, final thoughts.
So I was actually aware of Shogun, like when it was like about to be released on X. I mean, just saw a cool poster. I was like, hey, this is a show that I'm thinking about watching. It's only because of you, Jeff, that you inspired me to actually watch it and not just like put it in the back of my mind and just later forget about it. So thank you for that.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you. That makes me feel good. I appreciate that.
And that's folks, all the final thoughts.
We are done. That is our recap of the mid-season mark of Shogun. Even though some of us have already moved on to Chapter 6, I have not. In the meantime, we appreciate all of you. We will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you for catching our show. We really genuinely appreciate it. God bless you. Later. Peace.
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. Soon as we step out the cage, we raising all of the stakes.